This is the Beelink A1, an Android TV box with Android 7.1, AC Wi-Fi, Gigabit Lan, Bluetooth 4.0 and so much more. But is it worth it? Stick around to find out. It's TechWizTime. Hey guys, hope your week's going well so far. My name's Jonathan and this is TechWizTime, the channel that does technology tutorials and review videos. So this is the Beelink A1 and Gearbest was kind enough to send this out to me for a review. Thoughts and opinions are my own and no money has exchanged hands. And just so you're aware, there is a link down in the description where you can buy the Beelink A1. So with that said, let's see what's in the box. A little bit of styrofoam. Comes with a little operations guide there. Very simple. I'm gonna leave the box for a minute, but damn, that's small. I will come back to it. Okay, so in here, it's all compartmentalized and it's really nice. Here's the power and you've got your power supply there. It's a 5 volt 2 amp, just so you know. And then we've got the remote. There's the remote there, and there you go. The interesting thing with this one is that there's a learn function there, so you can actually learn commands from your TV's remote control. That's pretty awesome. Oh, there's actually something underneath as well. Hang on. Oh, well, that looks really nice. That's a nice HDMI cable. Cool. And the main event. Wow, that is so tiny. I love the orange on the bottom too. It's got little protectors on the feet. So the ports that this has got, it's got the AV port there, which I guess is for headphones and so forth. There's also a LAN port, which is the Gigabit Lan. There's HDMI and also the DC 5 volt. Over on the right hand side, we've got a micro SD card slot, USB 3 and a USB 2 port. And the really interesting thing is on the front is actually an LCD screen. I'm not quite sure what that's for yet, but when we get into the testing, we'll see what it does. So this is another RK3328 chipset Android TV box. So the CPU is an ARM-based Cortex A53, which is a quad-core CPU. It's got the Mali 450 GPU in it and 4 GB of RAM and a 16 GB storage on board. It's capable of playing 4K footage, so what we'll do is we'll get rid of all this and we'll test it out and we'll do some benchmarks and see what this can actually do. So firstly, looking at the benchmarks of the internal and SD storage, I did have a few conflicting results here and it was telling me that the internal storage was reading at 808 megabytes per second and writing at 90 megabytes per second. So I don't believe this was right. I did a few other tests and at one stage there I got a test for the internal SD card at 135 and 89 and I think that's about right. And finally the RAM speed, we're looking at 3,473 megabytes per second. Over to test the speed of the networking capabilities of this box, I managed to achieve a download rate of 92 megabits per second and an upload rate of 36 megabits per second. As this box has Wi-Fi AC, I was able to achieve 87 megabits per second down and 35 megabits per second up. So this was really good. Very, very close to being able to replace my wired network. Over to some hardware benchmarks, we can have a look at Antutu and it gave us an overall score of 33,708 with a 3D score of 982, UX score of 17,459, a CPU score of 11,316, and a RAM score of 3,951. Over in Geekbench, we can see a single core score of 541 and a multi-core score of 1,433. Now again, 3D gaming was fine on this. You can see here with the Beach Buggy game, but it's not always about the 3D game. Sometimes you want to have a look at emulation. So having a look at Psp Emulation, using the emulator PPSSPP, we can see with the game Power Stone that we're achieving a frame rate of around 40 to 50 frames per second in game, which isn't too bad. But as always with Psp Emulation, God of War is the one test here, and unfortunately it fails. We can only see a frame rate of about 1 to 6 frames per second here. So gaming isn't its high point, but what I would say is that this is going to be a really good media player for most people if you're only looking at HD resolution stuff. We can see here with Big Buck Bunny, the 30 frame per second file 4K file was achieving that full rate. However, as soon as we switch over to 60 frames per second in the 4K encoding, we see that it's just way too choppy. So you're not going to be able to do any 4K 60 FPS video files on this box. The other test that I like to do is the Jellyfish Test, and this is 4 different encodings of the same file. We've got a standard 1080p file at 55 megabits per second using H.264. Then the 3 other files are all 4K and all encoded with H.265, but we've got an encoding rate of 140 megabits per second, 200 megabits per second, and 400 megabits per second. And when I throw them all up on the screen right now, you can see that the only one that really achieves any sort of stable frame rate is the HD version. Unfortunately, none of the 4K files meet the bill here. So as of Media Center with video playback, as long as you're viewing HD files or 4K with low bitrate, then you should be okay. So that, my friends, is the Beelink A1 Android TV box. And I'm gonna let you make up your mind whether this is worth it or not. It's not an Nvidia Shield TV box, but for $60, it's not a bad Android TV box. I feel like I'm saying box and TV box too many times. Anyway, once again, thank you for watching this video. If you're not a subscriber, then make sure you subscribe to get more tech videos like this in the future. And if you are a subscriber, then make sure you hit that bell icon so you can get notified whenever I release a new video like this. Thanks again in advance for those that are going to share this video and also like it, because it really helps the channel without you doing much at all, really. I've also got a Patreon page and a Facebook group page that you can go and check out down in the links in the description. But with that all said, as always, imagine, learn, create.